All right. Very good. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Art, for getting us those notes so quickly, too. All right. Let's see here. And I'm going back and forth between two screens. Hang on one second. Zip, do you want to start off with public comment? We have anybody that's on here for public comment?
And nobody signed up for it.
Okay. All right. So it looks like we're going to go straight into the splash pad.
Yes, yes, we're going to go into the splash pad presentation. First, it's going to be I forget the names. Southern, and Gary is going to be the presenter of that. Greg, Greg. I'm off today. Greg. So he's going to make his introduction, and he's going to give his presentation first, and then it'll be followed by Vortex for the presentation on the splash pad. And we're just trying to get some kind of feel how we're going to proceed with this project. Hopefully, they're going to be bringing up this coming Friday and Saturday at the City Council retreat. And they kind of want your input and see what direction we need to go with this. We're not going to be making a decision on who we're going to hire for this project. We just want to kind of give you the outlay and show it to you. And then probably our next recreation meeting on who we're going to go with this project. So did everybody have a chance to review the presentations over the weekend?
Yes.
So are we following that presentation?
Right, yeah. But I don't know, Greg's might be a little bit different, but at least you have some kind of guidelines to follow and everything. So we'll go ahead and start first with Greg. And Greg, introduce your company. I know it's Southern in there, but I can't think of it. It's Great Southern.
So, yes, thank you very much. I am with Great Southern Recreation, and Chris Barone, our Director of Sales, is also in attendance with us. Could I share my screen just to go over, kind of show our presentation? Is that okay with you guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Your volume's kind of low. It's hard for me to hear you, Greg.
Okay. Let me see if I can change my audio. Is that better?
Yes, a little bit better. Were you able to share?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Let's see here. It's
better now. I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Yes, that's a lot better.
Good. Sorry about that. Now I'm trying to share my screen here. So apologize for the inconvenience.
Okay, we can see it.
Okay, good. Here, let's see here.
Hold on one second, Greg. If everybody else would mute their mics.
Okay, so all right, thank you very much. Again, I'm Greg Taylor, Great Southern Recreation, and we really want to thank you for the opportunity to present Great Southern Recreation and water play for your splash pad project. First, I want to say thank you for wanting to serve on your Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. My background is in Parks and Recreation Management, and used to work for the city of Shelby for a number of years. And while there, our Parks and Recreation Advisory Board provided valuable insight and support to all of us on a daily basis. So, getting into my presentation, water play is a world leader in forward-thinking aquatic solutions. and committed to bringing water play to the city of Belmont by offering innovative aquatic play solutions. I am aware that you guys are looking at both us with water play and Vortex, and I want to make sure and emphasize that both us and Vortex are considered two of the top leading aquatic play providers in our industry. Our products are designed and engineered to create moments where children explore, push their boundaries, and test their theories within a free, unstructured environment. Our design team set the gold standard with aquatic play by using high-grade stainless steel, durable polyurethanes, and polymers. Wanted to move on to Great Southern Recreation. We are, we let you know show you how we approach each and every project. We set ourselves apart from Vortex and our other competitors by providing turnkey solutions. We are the exclusive distributor of water play equipment in 7 states throughout the Southeast. We approach each project as a design, build endeavor. And by doing so, we employ over 30 hardworking employees that range from design to construction. Within our organization, we have dedicated employees, project managers, and installers that solely operate in the splash pad arena. As you can see on our next screen coming up, our organizational chart shows Justin and Abby Vance, a family-owned company. We specialize in, again, splash pads in multiple municipal in-play environments. Chris Barone, who is on this call, is our director of sales. Myself would be your territory manager out of Shelby, North Carolina. Jeff Gaddis is our director of construction, and Thomas McClure, it would be our project manager on this project. As you can see, the folks highlighted or in bold would be the ones that are active and directly involved with this project. This just kind of shows our progress over the last 4 or 5 years. We have sold and built over 60 splash pads throughout the Southeast. And it gives us valuable knowledge of the in and outs of sales and design and construction. In our design here, we show design option 1, which we really focused on more the visual approach by providing our mega soaker along with a mega soaker, which is here, along with our aqua drops, multiple above ground features, interactive components shown under the interactive tab here. This water weaver, where kids can actually spin the dome, and while the dome spins, the water spins along with it. Showing some more of our inclusive features. We show our aqua arches, as well as the umbrellas here that provide inclusive play to all. Going into some of our more exploratory features, we have multiple ground sprays that are on a sequence time, where one will start, one will stop. It provides multiple options for kids to play and enjoy. Of course, showing our mega soaker here, our large our large event features right there. So let's go into our second design, where we focus more on interactivity play by using over half of the play components on this design move freely and move with the kids. Can interact with it. Our interactive features on here include, again, the water weavers. We have our waterways. Excuse me. our puddle jumpers right there, where I showed that on exploratory or interactive features, where we show our blast cannons. Those turn in 180-degree directions. Even our dome drops up here, they spin, as well as the above ground feature here to the left. Showing some of our exploratory features. This kind of shows the puddle. We have two of those. The more the kid jumps on this, the higher the droplets, the higher the water goes, which is a really, really great interactive component. Our inclusive features shows our waterways here, which is, you see, stainless steel construction. Child that is bound to a wheelchair can come and play alongside their friends, their family, their brothers and sisters, etc. Showing here our large event features here as well is our sky soaker. I think at the beginning of this it showed our kind of a little short video, and I wasn't able to pull that up. Not real sure what happened to that, so I apologize. So in finishing up, we thank you for this opportunity, and we hope to build your splash pad one day, someday in the next several months. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Greg. Do anybody have any questions for Greg?
Yes, this is Leslie. I do have some questions. Is there like an age limit per feature on your features that you have, like the age ranges, I mean, on the different features?
Well, so we do offer, while looking at different options, we do allow for toddler areas, toddler play, where it ranges anywhere from 6 months to 3 years old. That are more of the smaller ground spray components, and then it moves into more of the 5 to 12. Even a little bit older. Most kids past 12 or 13 years old might interact on some of the splash pad components, but as you get older, once their interests change, the older they get, so they phase out. But so yes, we offer multiple components for multiple age groups.
Okay, and on your presentation, there's 2 different layouts. Are those the proposed layouts for the Belmont Park?
Yeah. So while meeting with Zip on site, we in our layout, we weren't able to show the existing picnic shelter, but with the way the lot beside the picnic shelter was laid out, it's larger on one end, and it kind of gets narrow because of how that lay of the land drops off. And so if you're looking at the first page of if you're looking at them, I don't know which one but this both our design options meet, kind of follow the site that's there that butts up to the picnic shelter themselves.
Okay, and if will there be a fence around the splash pad and benches?
In our proposal, we did not include any fencing. While talking with Zip, we were just really focusing on the splash pad. In our designs, it does show some freestanding benches. In our pricing, yes, we don't have necessarily 6 benches shown, but are provided. We've got, I think, three accounted for in our pricing.
Do the benches have sunshade?
No,
over
they
the
do
benches?
not. They do not.
Okay. And what's the lifespan, or like your warranty on on the splash pad
Okay.
of the products?
Let's see. I'm not familiar, let's see. Chris, can you chime in on that, on the warranty on the splash pad? Got a blank.
Yeah. So it really depends on what components we're talking about, as any manufacturer will vary with different elements in the warranty period. But, you know, the posts themselves are stainless steel piping and weldments, and they're 25 years. The nozzles are 5 years. Any stainless steel hardware is 2 years. And then, you know, stainless steel manifold is 25 years. So we can send over a supplemental warranty document, but there's about 30 different items with different warranty periods for each one. The powder coating has 2 years.
Okay. And on the two proposals sent over, there's the age ranges are, do you have toddler and 5 to 12 in both of them? Both
Yes, ma'am.
proposals?
We do. Yes, ma'am. We sure do.
And are they together? Toddler area, like all together, and then the 5 to 12 areas
Yes,
on the other side.
That's correct. So, go ahead, Chris.
In the design, we did put them together. Separating them, a lot of times what we do, let me back up just a second. Specifically for this, you've asked questions about fencing and then shaded seating and things such as that. We're a licensed general contractor, so anything that you guys want to provide on the site for the splash pad, we certainly can. But for these designs, we just stuck with the actual splash pad itself and then a few of the benches. In terms of separating age groups, you know, we find on a splash pad that age groups don't always necessarily work in the same way that like traditional playground equipment age groups do. A 3-year-old can be very exploratory and want to use some of the older components, but if you guys are concerned at all about just having some sort of separation, we like to do a seat wall. We've done this on numerous projects, so it's not, you know, you're physically limiting interaction in a certain way, but you're not completely separating them to say that, hey, 4-year-old, you must be over here, or hey, 6-year-old, you must be over here. Because on a splash pad, you'll find that there's a lot of interaction going on between different age groups and different features and things in that manner. Greg showed a picture of our waterways where a child in a wheelchair can access that, but there's also portions to that are really low to the ground that a 2-year-old may want to play with. So if we just stuck it over to the side, I think we found a lot of times that there's maybe a better design element in doing that as opposed to just completely separating those.
Okay. Thank you for that information.
Anybody else got any questions?
Yeah, Zip, I have one. I wanted to know about the water drainage. How does that work? Are there drains? I didn't see any in the presentation. I didn't see any drains. Does it drain through the surface?
Yes, it does. So we have sump drains on the concrete deck itself, and then we slope from perimeter to the grate of the sump drain. And then, of course, we'll have a main drain line underneath the concrete that each of the drains connect to.
Okay. Is the splash pad, is that raised? It looked like might be a berm raised up on a berm.
No, it's not. It's not raised on a berm. You know, sometimes the renderers, they have a little bit of creative freedom. So if you saw something very specific, it may have just been something they put in there to help the design or the site. But generally speaking, when we build a splash pad, we want to make sure that we're not also collecting in local rainwater outside of the pad itself. So
okay.
If we're thinking about elevation, you know, we'll have concrete and a stone substrate. So we will offset existing grade and we'll leave the concrete lip about 4 inches above the existing grade. So when we back dress that, all the rainwater will stay off the pad itself.
Sure.
But it's completely ADA accessible. So, you know, we're not 12 inches above existing grade, but we're not digging 12 inches down and then allowing potential rainwater to enter into the site as well.
Understood. Thank you.
Yes.
Greg or Chris, is there any numbers that say with this size of splash park, how many, is there a capacity number that this particular splash pad would serve for kids? I mean,
There's, in the splash pad industry, there's not a code or anything like that dictates, hey, this is how many kids accommodate. In other recreational pursuits, they do it just purely from a spacing standpoint. And in the industry, there's a rule of thumb of about one child every 30 square feet. And if you wanted to accommodate more, you certainly could. It's just be a little tighter. Or if you wanted to, space it out, you could just say, okay, we want to design a pad that can accommodate one child every 40 square feet, and we want to accommodate, 150 kids. Well, then we would just size the pad based on that. But there's not a code or anything to specifically answer your question.
Yes, that does. And it kind of brings my question even back to a little bit of what Leslie was asking. What do you guys see or the feedback, just out of curiosity, because obviously Mont's never had a splash pad before, but with the different age groups, what kind of, like safety things do you guys get fed? Do they just kind of keep them to themselves? And I know when I've taken kids when mine were younger to splash pads, it was just running and excitement, and all that. Is there any big safety things that kind of come out with that, with having different age groups out there?
Yeah. So in the GSR family, we have a total of 20 kids age 8 and under. So we almost have our own little marketing research group when we build our splash pads. And we found that, I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, and we've played on every splash pad known to man. And what I've found and what collectively we have found at GSR is, yes, there will be interactions between children of different ages. It's kind of, we want to stay away from hazards, but we don't want to just completely eliminate risk either. So concrete in nature is rough. So can there be skin knees? Yes. But we keep a lot of what we would quote unquote call younger age features. The way when we design the shape of our pad is kind of on one side, and then the older children is on the other side, but they are still free to interact with each other.
Okay. And then my other question kind of goes with what Mike was saying too, about like the water drainage and everything. What kind of maintenance does this have long term? Would it be replacing certain things here and there? Does the water filtration have to, be looked at, treated, and those kind of things? What kind of, once the splash pad is in place, what are we looking at, down the road, yearly, those kind of things of what would kind of be your top few things that have to be addressed?
So there's 2 types of splash pad systems. There's recirculating and flow through. I know when we were in the initial part of the design, we had talked through that, or Greg had talked through that, and we had ultimately, been told to design a flow through, which is great from a maintenance standpoint. So in a flow through system, you have a controller that sequences a manifold, and all a manifold is a central water header that then distributes all the water to the individual features. And on each one of those lines is a solenoid valve, and that solenoid valve is connected to the controller. So it kicks on and off. If you wanted to run a sequence, it will turn on and off a line, which in essence turns on and off a feature. But in terms of long-term maintenance, the water drains away. You don't have any chemicals on site. The most that we've ever seen from a maintenance standpoint on a flow-through system is winterizing your splash pad, which we'll definitely help you guys with, and set that up to, however you guys would suit you guys the best. There's a couple of different ways to do that. And then cleaning out solenoid valves. And that's pretty simple. And that's something that we'll cover in our training as well. But from a maintenance standpoint, flow-through systems are pretty hands-off. It's the complete opposite when you go to the research system.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, I have another question.
Hey, we only limited this to 30 minutes per person, so we got about 3 minutes.
Okay. With the flow-through system, what's our average water cost?
It'll be completely dependent on how we set up the sequencing with you all. So when we do a flow-through system, we have a total gallons per minute range that if all the features are on at one time, then that would be the max flow. Most times on a flow-through system, we sequence to where maybe we're running the pad we would be running the big feature all on all the time, and and we can turn that down to where it dumps maybe once every 5 minutes. So it's really anticipatory, but at that rate, it's about 15 gallons per minute. So then it's a sequence. So we say, hey, your pad's 130 gallons per minute. Let's run it at the big feature all on, and then a 50% random pattern for each feature to stay on for 20 seconds. Well, then that means you're running your pad at 50% plus the big feature. We set the activator on the pad so that when a child comes to the splash pad, they hit the activator, the system kicks on. Well, the activator is set on a timer of, say, 10 minutes. So if the child leaves and no one else is on the pad, the splash pad kicks off. Just due to that nature of we don't know how many kids will ultimately be playing at any, in a 12-hour period on a summer day, it's impossible for anybody to tell you exactly how many gallons per minute your system would use in a given season. We can run estimates and give you economic sheets based off of local water rates to help determine that, but it's really going to be dependent on how many kids use it, how long they use it, and what sequence we are setting it up on from a controller standpoint.
Well, Chris, we thank you.
And that's not specific to us. That is just the splash pad industry as a whole. No one can truly say what your water bill is going to be because they don't know how many kids are going to be out there on July the 15th at 2 p.m.
Okay.
Just a follow-up with
I do have.
Go ahead, Lana. Just
Same.
a follow-up with Chris and with Greg. Most of the systems in our area are equipped with the flow-through system. That would be the city of Gastonia, Stanley, and a couple other municipalities all with the flow-through system. So we perhaps can get some numbers from them, what their water consumption is.
Zip, I think Leslie had an additional question.
Okay, well, it's 6:30 now. We kind of need to move on with the next presentation. And any other
Can we send in some questions after the fact, Zip? I've got a bunch, but there's no way that it'll fit in the time limit.
Well,
can I email you afterwards?
What we're doing today, we're just getting the presentations from these groups. So get your questions down, and when we have our next meeting, we probably have to have a special meeting on this to talk about it. So write your questions down, and we'll get them in our next meeting. So we hear the other presider now, and I want to thank Chris and for Greg for Great Southern for their presentation. And the next presider will be Vortex. So we'll just keep it rolling. So be sure to just put your questions down.
All right. Thank you very much, and look forward to it. Please, if you do have any questions, please feel free to send them to us so we can get them answered for you.
Yeah, I'll get them. And we appreciate it. Appreciate it, Greg. And Greg, thanks a lot. And the next presider,
so much.
Vortex, and Mary is going to be presiding for that. So
hello, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to move this box up to the top so I can see my presentation. Okay, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. I know you have a lot on the agenda today, and so I appreciate the time so much. My name is Mary Bannis, and I am with Vortex Aquatic Structures. I represent Vortex for the state of North Carolina, and also in attendance to back me up if needed is my regional manager, Sarah Shepard. She has years and years of experience with Vortex, and we're both located in the greater Charlotte area. So what we're going to talk about today is our proposal to design, manufacture both the features and the water management system, and to install a splash pad for Kevin Lofton Park. And we're really excited to talk to you today about that. This is going to be a complete turnkey system. And so we would be involved from start to finish with your splash pad. So here is the proposed Kevin Lofton splash pad. This is a great overall view. And what we did is we looked at your City of Belmont logo and designed our color scheme based on that logo. And a little bit later, I'm going to focus on the big dumping bucket feature that you see there in the middle, because we've actually put your logo onto that twin splash feature bucket. So we have divided our splash pad, into bays. And actually, before I get into that, I think that this turned out absolutely beautiful. I love it. But there's so much more that goes into a splash pad than just, putting features there that look pretty. Of course, that's important for it to be attractive to people, but there's a purpose in mind, a purpose to make sure that it is something that's inclusive of all people. Of course, interactive play. This design is based on our Explora line, which won an International Design Award for inclusivity and interactivity. So most of the features here are from that line. And we have divided it into 3 bays. On the left, you can see there's the toddler bay, and then we transition into the family bay, where you see in the middle the iconic bucket feature. And then as the children get older, they're going to gravitate more toward the right side of the splash pad, which is the teen bay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about each of these bays individually. So first, the toddler bay. You can see here that we have included a seat wall there. And that's important because it allows for a measure of safety for the children that are there. Their parents will also want to be involved in playing with the kids, but then they're, if they want to take a little break, they can sit on the seat wall and they can be right there next to their children if they're needed. So it provides a sense of comfort. So we did include that in this design and in our quotation. A couple of the features that I want to point out, if you see the little girl here with the yellow bathing suit and the purple hat, she's playing with a toddler feature that we developed called the bobble. There's a kind of a free floating orb here that they can push up and down, twirl around, and really see how it affects the water. A lot of times it is a single user feature, and it's sort of a sensory garden for them. They can see the water and its beauty. They can listen to it, and they can touch, very importantly, and feel. And a lot of times they'll sit there for a long, long time and contemplate, make up their own games, and feel really involved in how they interact and make the water move. And then if we look to the left with the child in the blue bathing suit, this is one of our Helio features. It's got a giant orb that they can actually get in there with their little friends that they've just met and twist and turn the orb to affect the water feature and how it moves. So it gets them in there, and active. And I mean, that's the whole goal here, right? Is for us to have a more healthy community, get kids out active, using their muscles, turning it and getting involved and having some control over what happens there with that feature. Another one, which is one of my favorites, is on the right here. You see the lady here holding her child. This here is our Luna 3 feature, and it's got 5 nozzles here that they can actually twist and move around to get that orb there down on the bottom, spinning faster and faster and faster and moving the water out further. But they can also kind of spray their new friend if they want to. So it's very, very interactive. Another neat thing is right on the edge of the toddler bay, we have these 2 spray loops here. And this is, of course, is designed for circuit play, but it also serves some other functions. If the kids are a little bit wary about, well, should I go into the family bay? Am I ready to go, see some of these bigger, more dramatic features? And if they are, it's sort of a gateway through. They can run through this spray loop feature and then get into the family bay. If they're not quite ready, it's a nice little safety net for them, like a little bit of a barrier that's still fun to play with. Moving on now to the teen bay, I want to start by talking about this helio feature that's pretty tall. It's 6 feet tall. And what's great about it, though, is it features this bollard here that anyone, it's at a height, even though the feature's tall, it's at a height that anyone can come in and play with it. And then it takes some physicality to get that ball moving. But once they get it spinning fast, they can actually move away from it or walk away from it, because that Twirl Tech technology that we have is called a friction-free rotational joint. They can actually walk away and it will still be spinning, and they can see what water effect that they've made there. Another feature that's very, very popular are these 2 opposing spray cannons, and that sets up what we call competitive play. And those here are always going to have somebody on the spray cannons, and it's great to see the kids use their imagination and come up with all different types of games that they could play with these features. And of course, throughout, we have all kinds of fun ground sprays that are often single user features. Moving on to the family bay, we have, of course, our brand new Twin Splash bucket feature. What's great about this is, this is kind of the centerpiece of the splash pad. This is a gathering point for excitement, anticipation. Once the bucket dumps, it has actually 2 successive water waves that come out. So not only will they get the first splash, but they'll get a second surprising splash, which likely the little kids are going to feel because they weren't ready for it, right, as much, but it's got less of an impact. So it's a little bit lighter dump on them. So that's going to be where everybody comes to play. And the parents and the grandparents, older sisters, brothers often get involved as well. So because it's a family bay, and for a parent like me that gets tired easily, we have these 2 opposing silhouette features that you can see here in gray. That is a lower flow, relaxing, refreshing feature that you can still, move away from that big dumping bucket and all that water, but then move over here to the silhouettes and get some refreshment that's lower flow, and then move back when you're ready. So here's a close-up of the Twin Splash iconic feature. You can see that your logo is there. And like I said, we included all the colors that we thought would complement that. And I thought it turned out beautifully, nice and clean look. And also you can see there below the bucket, there, it looks like sort of like a curved plate. That has our C-Flow technology in it. So the sunshine will come through there and then cast a beautiful blue shadow onto the concrete there, which is also visually stunning. So the Twin Splash, this is our cut sheet there, which I included in my larger proposal that I sent. And it kind of shows the double dumping feature. And it has won a Most Valuable Product Award last year in 2020. And also, if you were to partner with Vortex, you would be the first city to install the Twin Splash, which would be really exciting for all of us, I think. Next, I want to highlight the Luna 3 that I've talked about before. This is one of my favorites. There's so many things you can do and so many games you can create. Move the nozzles, spray your friend, see how you can manipulate those nozzles and get that orb spinning. It really helps with cognitive development there and social play. Now I've got a video here. This is a splash pad that is currently in operation. It will show you how kids actually play on a splash pad. And there are several of the features that we've designed in your splash pad that are on this. So let's just take a look. It speaks for itself. I'm going to be quiet. Okay, so yeah, I'm a also on. Let me get this to go over to the next slide. So that I think is really great to show because I'm a visual person, and it's so hard to describe how kids will play with features, but that just gives you a brief idea of it. So you're probably wondering, okay, we have a lot of choices. So why would I want to partner with Vortex? Well, so Vortex is also a family company, and we have been in business since 1995. We just celebrated our 25th anniversary. It is a global company. We have over 8,000 projects worldwide in 50 countries, over 100 awards and honors, and we have just opened in the last year a new state-of-the-art manufacturing facility in Quebec. To drill down for a local focus, we have a Vortex regional office in North Carolina. It's in Cornelius, which of course is Greater Charlotte. So all of us that would be involved in your project work out of that office. Sarah Shepard, my regional manager, who is responsible for the Southeast, very, very knowledgeable, myself. And then for the installation portion of the project management team and whoever is assigned to work with you works out of that office. Also, we have over 60 installations just in the state of North Carolina. So if you would like us to provide you with a reference, we can definitely do so if you want to talk to other people who have experience with a Vortex splash pad. You talked earlier about the different age groups that are going to be on the splash pad. We do a lot of research in this area about who's going to be on the splash pad, what do they want to play with, how do they learn. So what we have discovered is that the toddler segment of the population, there are going to be a lot of toddlers on the splash pad. And so we've developed specific solutions for that age group. And all of these 3 products that are here in these pictures are designed to be on your splash pad for the toddlers. In terms of the materials that we use, you talked about safety earlier. We have something that we call a toe guard, the top left there. It's a soft touch elastomer. That is because everybody's running around, running into each other, that sort of a thing. And if they run into a feature, they're going to hit it with their feet first. So it's a soft place to land, so they won't have as much of a likelihood of hurting themselves or their feet. All of our features are made with stainless steel. Our nozzles are made of brass. They aren't likely to clog up. The C-flow that we talked about, a lot of the features have that C-flow that will project a beautiful, colorful shadow onto the splash pad. And we also use a powder coat, a color coding system for our paint, which is really resistant to scratching or fading. And then planning for the future. Things change. We want that splash pad, and you do, to be there for a long time. What if we have some new innovations? What if you have a feature that you want to change out for something that's new and exciting? There's an easy way to transform those features in the way we've designed our anchoring system for each feature. It is merely 4 bolts that you unscrew, take the old feature out, put the new feature in, and put in those 4 bolts. And then you have a brand new feature without upsetting the infrastructure or the concrete on your splash pad. So very, very simple. And if you had multiple splash pads, you could interchange features within each park to, just to make it a little bit fresh and new. So to summarize, why Vortex? 25 years of experience. We have an end-to-end solution for you. We won't walk away until you have a operating splash pad that we're all proud of. And of course, after sales service will always be there and here locally in the Charlotte market. We have a local project team who will all be involved in your project from beginning to end, anything you need. We have award-winning products and product lines like the Explora that we feature here. And you'll get an enhanced play experience with Vortex because all of that is in mind when designing your splash pad. Of course, we have a manufacturer's warranty, and it's segmented like it is for water play and Great Southern. 25 years on structural steel, 2 on paint, 1 on insulation. That's included in my proposal, but if you want more details on that, I can get it for you. So, the end result is really what you're going to want is significant increase in your park attendance, which is going to lead to a more active and healthy community, which is what we all want. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Mary. Anybody got any questions?
I do. You mentioned that to replace a feature, it's as simple as taking out 4 bolts and then swap or replace. Let's say we needed to replace a feature. Maybe it's vandalized or something like that. What would that typically cost? And I'm not asking for a specific cost now, but would we see that in a proposal, replacement costs? And I'm also wondering what we might need to talk to our insurance company about in a vandalization scenario in particular. It seems like it's easy. Is that something you guys do, or we might be able to do ourselves? A lot of stuff in there.
It could be either way. We could do it. We could do a proposal. I do it often. Like a lot of times there's phase projects where they put in like just a ground spray there that they can actually, put in another feature later when they have the funds for it. So what I'll do is I'll put a proposal in for the features that you want. And a lot of times it's complementary cost because it'll be a complementary height and type of feature. But we will do a proposal for you that could include insulation or not. It just depends on what you want. So we could give you both.
Okay.
And in terms of vandalism and insurance, Sarah, I'm not sure that I would know how to answer that one.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in. And Brett, typically the type of things that we would see with vandalism would be more related to accessories on the features. The actual features that you replace are stainless steel. So it's pretty tough. I mean, we've seen 1 or 2 instances in the time I've been with Vortex for 16 years. We've seen 1 or 2 instances where somebody backed a truck into it or something like that. But it is extremely rare that the actual structural component is going to be damaged. So you would be talking more about the actual accessory pieces, the orbs or something like that, which would be a negligible cost. So you wouldn't normally, I can't say it would never ever happen, but you wouldn't normally have to replace the actual feature for that. The reason for replacing the feature is more of the splash pads we put in, typically they're there 15, 20 years. So features change a lot. When I look at features from 1995, they're pretty boring and pretty faded, but they're stuck in the concrete. So to have the option of 10 years from now saying, hey, we want to refresh the splash pad, we want some new technology, being able to set that in is really what that safe swap anchoring system is for. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Great.
Anybody else?
Mary, is this set up similar to what we heard before as the water flow? It's not one that recycles. Is this similar to that?
Yes, this is a flow through system. But in the event that you ever wanted to go to a recirculation system for whatever reason, when we were on site with ZIP, we identified that it would be very easy to do. So you already have a building there that could accommodate the equipment.
Anybody else?
One quick thing. Both the presentations so far, they show basically concrete cement. Is there ever a scenario where we have a padded coating on the cement, either for traction or to reduce the impact of a fall? I feel like I've seen this at splash pads in the past, but I couldn't tell you one off the top of my head where I remember seeing that. Does that make sense? Or a foam coating or something to protect all that slipping and sliding and crashes.
Right. There are companies out there that will do soft surfacing for you. That's obviously an expense that would be, added into the cost of the splash pad. It's not something that we do in terms of manufacturing. So that would be another manufacturer that we would have to work with.
And Brett, I just want to add on to that a little bit. We have done that on some of the splash pads. There's several different options for that. Typically, it's a rubberized surfacing, so you can do a roll-on rubberized, or if you want more of an attenuating surfacing, you can do more of a rubberized surface. The one thing that I always say is it is quite a big cost initially. and ongoing maintenance. Obviously, wear and tear on that is harder than it is on concrete. So usually you have to kind of think as when you're getting a flow through splash pad, you're kind of getting that nice, easy maintenance scenario. By putting that down, it's just adding, in 5 years, you're probably going to have to look at doing it. So it's just something that, it's not a bad thing. We don't feel it's a necessary thing. It's similar to a pool deck, so we don't feel it's a necessary thing. And it does add quite a bit to your overall operational and maintenance cost. So just something to consider if you are looking at that.
Thank you.
All right, well, Mary, thank you. And was it Sarah was the other lady?
Yes, it's me.
Yes, thanks a lot for your presentation. And for the group, write your questions down and give me anything, and I can submit that to Great Southern and to Vortex, and they can follow up with any questions that you may have. And when we have our next meeting, we'll discuss. I guess we'll have a special meeting just on splash pads, and hopefully we can do that next week if everybody can consent to that. But we'll talk about that after the meeting, after this presentation is over with. But we need to convene again and just specifically talk about the splash pads and any questions or concerns that you may have. Is that all right with everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Because we didn't have a short amount of time, and we only got a small amount of time, and we could talk about splash pads all day. And we kind of limited based on our agenda. So any questions or concerns you have, just write them down, and we'll discuss them in our next meeting. So we appreciate Great Southern and Vortex for giving your presentation. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Sorry.
All right. It looks like, Zip, the next thing on the agenda is naming rights.
Yes, and that's what you, I think Laura sent you the policy for naming rights. Did everybody have a chance to review that? Did everybody get the policy?
Yeah.
I'm looking for it.
When was that sent? Was that in December? And I did not get the proposals for tonight. I got the video link, but which I thought I'd like to get a copy of those after the fact.
Okay. Well, I have Laura send those out.
Yeah, it should have been with all the
I
other.
didn't get those either.
Emily didn't get one. So Emily didn't get one. Brent did not get one. Who else? So everybody.
When did it go out?
When
November.
Laura?
November 6th.
Okay.
Let me go back to my email and see when it was. Because I thought I was sent.
I got it. I have it.
Okay.
I think I remember seeing it. Probably read it.
Zip, we did talk about it a little bit because I have some footnotes on it. About qualifying names is financial sponsorship under qualifying names. We added that.
Yes, I have it. I have it, Zip.
Okay. I mean, well, just a brief note. It's our responsibility as a Recreation Commission for you guys to come up with names for the parks and submit that to the City Council for review. And we do have on our project a potential dog park, the potential splash pad, the potential rec center, and some other projects that we have. So we got to come up with names for all those facilities. And it's about a 3-month process. I mean, we had to go through citizen meetings and also some other meetings in order to get those names pushed through. So just to put it on your mindset to be able to watch and look and go through the process and see what we have to do. But at some point that we need to start naming some of these facilities. One thing that comes in mind, the first project I didn't even mention was the Belmont Rowing Center. We definitely need to come up with a name for that facility first, because that's going to be going through the national process. They need a name. We just can't call it the Belmont Rowing Center. I mean, unless y'all guys want to call it that, but we need to come up with a specific name for the Belmont Rowing Center. And that'll probably
Well, Zeke, when I'm looking at the notes from that meeting when we talked about it, and I know it says in here that we did discuss it, and that it sounds like too that the community was also going to have an opportunity to have input in the names of parks, and then it looks like Emily had even suggested asking the Belmont Rowing Club about any ideas. So is that? I realize we would play a part in that, but how in that process then does the community have any sort of input on that? Do we have a public meeting saying that that's going to be on the agenda to discuss it, or
we'd have to have a public meeting.
Okay.
Have a public meeting just for the naming rights for the Pacific Park.
Okay.
And let them put their input in, just the same way that we did for the rec center on those focus group meetings. We'd have to have something like a focus group meeting and bring different groups in, decide on some of these names for these facilities.
And the names, and I apologize, I don't have that policy right there in front of me, but we have talked about using this opportunity to get a sponsored name.
And perhaps we can contact some of the vendors or some of the different organizations and ask them to be a participant at some of those meetings.
Okay, but we're saying that that's a possibility, because I think what my thought would be is, do you invite the community to come up with a name when, somebody may up and say, hey, we'd like to be on the naming rights and we'll pay you this. I guess I just want to make sure that our message, is clear about how that naming rights work. I know, several years ago, they were trying to change the name of the tennis courts after one of the longtime coaches there. And I don't really remember how far they got, but, I just want to make sure that we have a clear message at how they're going to be named. If there are opportunities for, sponsored names, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, it is opportunities. That's why this process takes at least 60 days. So it's an ongoing process. That's why I want to go ahead and get it started. And that's going to be meeting with the community groups and also with the businesses and getting the word out there that we are seeking names and inputs and perhaps sponsorships or somebody just to naming rights.
Right. So I remember a few years ago that that the Parks and Rec department developed, it was almost like a sponsorship booklet. And it basically went through all of the events that you guys did and what kind of sponsorship amounts you were looking for. Is that something that could be, developed for this? Like maybe we have our own, maybe the own presentation of, hey, this is this is the rowing club. This is the splash pad. And we're looking for sponsorships. I guess what I'm saying is I just don't want to miss the opportunity by saying that the community can name it when we could possibly have an opportunity to first try to sell a naming right, maybe.
Okay.
Well, I think too, the building upon that also, I think that that's a good point, because with the bricks, when we sold the bricks for the tennis court, that was a way of doing that. And we don't want to say that, if you, what is the criteria? Because again, if for the community how do we do it? Do we count the number of votes for like a name, like when we had a name of the Panda Bears? Or is it like the Panthers, when you have to give a certain amount and you get something named after you for a designated amount of time? So I think that that's a good point. What is the criteria before we go out to the community and say we would like the naming rights? How is that going to be done? So I think getting all of that done first sounds like.
Yeah, that's why we sent the policy. That's why we sent the policy out over a month ago for everybody to review.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I suggest we have a number of things to name? Maybe we don't have to name everything all at once right away. Maybe we, for a number of reasons, we spread it out over time. One, so that we can manage it ourselves as a group. Two, so that we can pursue donors or people that might sponsor it. Three, so that we can, if we're selling bricks or any other thing, the community has the ability to fund each of those. Because if we try to do everything all at once, we might find that there's some support there and healthy support, but not to cover everything. And if we spread it out, if we do a name of one thing next quarter, and then a name for something else the quarter after that, and the quarter after that, and the quarter after that, we can build our process, improve it, get the funds. And if it's got a temporary name, like the Belmont Rowing Club as an example, is that the end of the world? If it helps us get better at this, do better, show people that we're improving and things like that too, and maybe reduce our costs along the way with sponsors or getting it right with the community, helping them learn the process too. I'm fine with the policy. I'm just thinking maybe we need to stage each one of these out and not do them all at once.
And by no means I was saying we was going to do everything at once, because all these projects have different time frames that they're going to be finished. So we do have a time frame to work on those. Right now, as I mentioned before, the Belmont Rowing Center will probably be the first thing that's going to come up, because that's going to be on the application that we submit to the federal government for this project. And then the second thing would probably be the splash pad, followed by the proposed ballpark. So those things are in succession, but they're not at the same time.
Okay.
So when are we looking at submitting? What time frame? Because if you're looking at we need a name before we can submit, we've got to back up 60 days and try to start that process for naming.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to go ahead and get this process started early, because I don't know when the application or the time frame that we're going to be sending an application for the Belmont Rowing Club, but it's going to be coming up here shortly, probably within the next couple of months. We're still in the process of getting all that paperwork handled to be able to.
Can we submit with a temporary name? It's called Belmont Rowing Club, and specifics to be, TBD. I mean, do we have to pin ourselves in over something like a name?
We don't have to. And that's something I have to look at when we do the application to the federal government. Like I said, they're very picky on different type of things, so I need to make sure on that. I mean, we probably could have something temporarily, but I have to come back with the answer to that one.
Has the rowing club given any suggestions or what their feeling is if they'd like to have it named?
No, not yet. No.
I would say that's a good place for us to start. I mean, they're the ones doing all the work. I feel like, I would love for them to come to us with some suggestions, and we can, have that conversation rather than just us, putting in a random name out there.
Well, we definitely want to include them, but we also want to include the community, because that's one of the processes, especially applying for this application with the federal government. That it's a city project, and we got to get the whole community involved. So it can't be just the rowing club; it's got to be the whole community. Name.
I agree with that. I'm just saying I think we should start with them. Like they're the ones who really put in the sweat equity into this. I think it would be great to let them come up with some suggestions that then could be punted out to the community for input.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But everybody just revisit the policy again, and when we redo the policy, then we would do so. But review it again, and when we have our next meeting, we need to start talking about it a little bit more in detail and start laying out a plan to go ahead and start this process. Like I said, it is like a 3-month process.
Okay. This is, let's say, I'm a little. I just want to make sure I know what what you're asking me to do here. So you want us to come up with names for the Belmont Rowing Center per the naming policy?
Not necessarily come up with a name. Like I said, we need to get community involvement and businesses associated with it, and they'll submit those names to us, and we can also come up with a name too. So it's going to be a community effort, not just us. It'll be the community along with the businesses coming up with this name too. I just want you guys to look at the policy and be aware of the policy so that we could start this process. So that's the first step. If everybody knows what the policy states.
Okay, so for the next meeting, the Belmont will have the suggestions from the Belmont Road Center. And will there be like a public meeting already created for this?
No, at our next meeting, we'll just be going into discussion about the policies and we'll have to schedule, we'll have a community meeting and so forth and contact business owners and everybody. So that's why it takes like a 3 month process. It's a lot of steps that we have to take. So at next meeting, we'll just be discussing the policy, make sure everybody know what the policy is, and then we'll be able to reach out to the community and start getting names for them to submit to us. And then once we get all those names submitted, then we'll come up with a name to give the city council. It may be 2 or 3 names we may have out there for you guys to want to select through or submit to the city council. But like I said, it is a long process.
Okay. And when you say names submitted to you, is that anybody can contact you for that, or will there be like a specific event?
Well, they'll contact me and I'll forward them on to the board members for that name. And then once we have our last meeting and everything in, we can decide on a couple of names to submit to city council, or one name that'd be up to your discretion of how you want to submit the names to the city council.
The policy states that people will submit an application for a name that we will then receive and consider.
Right.
Maybe this is the application is as simple as a post on Facebook. Hey, we're looking for names. Maybe it's a survey, a more formal form. I don't really care what myself. Any of those seem like good possibilities, but we need a place to receive those in so that we can then review them as a starting place, I think.
Well, everything will be coming to the recreation department, and that's a great idea. How do you guys want to handle it? That's why I want you guys to review the policy, and then our next meeting we'll discuss the policies and see what steps we're gonna move forward with. To be able to
it just says that there will be an application.
Right.
I'm looking at it right now. So, how do we want to? Do we want to have a motion on how we want to receive the application, or do we turn it over to you, Zip, and your department, let you guys figure out what's the most practical way to put an application out there to people? To the community?
Yes, we can take the lead on that, and Laura can take the lead on that. Just like we do any kind of correspondence with the community, all the information comes back to the recreation department. So it would go to Laura, and then she would forward it to me and to the committee.
So I have a few thoughts, and I don't know if this is going to be helpful whatsoever, but sponsorships through like us at Claremont, like we probably wouldn't look at a project that if we had been given the opportunity for naming rights at the beginning, we would be more likely to support a project like that. I know that's really something big that we take into consideration when we're looking at projects to support, like through our sponsorship program. I don't know if Emily can add to that too, but we are really big on like signage, like permanent signage at parks or, whatever it is that we're sponsoring. So I don't know if that's something to consider, but when we're looking at things to sponsor, we look at naming recognition for us. That's one of our big
I agree with you, Bree. I mean, and typically, I think somebody made this point a little bit ago, maybe Claudina, that typically it's like naming right sponsor for 10 years or 5 years or something like that. And then you go and see if you want to renew or pitch it to somebody else. So that's like a really common thing. And it's a really great way to bring in money because there are plenty of people who love to have their names on things. So, I don't know where the rowing club is and what any of their fundraising, or if they even have any other sponsors who've given a significant amount that they would want to give that option to. But I agree with you, Bree.
I actually think that and I could be wrong about this too, I can look it up, but I kind of want to think that the rowing club actually had reached out to us for a naming right opportunity. I don't know if they've done that to other people. I don't remember the situation or when it was. It could have been much longer ago, very premature. But I could be wrong. They may already have, like Emily said, they may already have some big donors that we don't know about.
Well, I mean, I totally agree with you guys. I mean, that's been kind of the subject that we've been talking about for months when we started the discussion of the rec center and those kind of things. I think what I just wanted to make clear is, through the naming policy or through, and if that partners with any sort of sponsorships, I guess in my side, I would want to make sure that our message out initially is very clear, because let's say that Bree, you and Emily and Brett, y'all all put in an application because you want that park named.
Right.
What happens if we didn't go to Caramont first and they say, oh no, we're going to put a $10,000, spot on there. Now, what am I supposed to tell my citizen of Emily, Bree, and Brett that says, oh, sorry, you're sorry, we didn't make that clear. And I think that's before we go out into the community and say, what do y'all want to name these parks? Are we going to overlook that opportunity that says Caramont may want to do this, Atrium may want to do this, Purina may want to sponsor the dog park. I just don't want to skip over that, and say, oh, let's see what the community does. I do think that's important, but I don't want to miss an opportunity that for 5 years we can get a $10,000 sponsorship, and then 5 years they have a chance to renew it, and have that first right, kind of a refusal thing. That's my simple thing, is I just want to make sure the message from us out is very clear about what those opportunities are, whether it's a paying name or it simply is a community name that I fill out an application for. So that's my biggest thing.
And that's why we need to review the policy that we have in place right now and see, do we need to upgrade that or add anything to it or whatever, so we'll be in consensus of what we're going to do and how we're going to approach the community as well as the other business organizations. So that's why I got this out there to you earlier, so we can start working on that process. I mean, I agree with what everybody is saying, and like I say, it's going to be a long process that we need to start working on it now. So at our next meeting, that needs to be one of the top things on our agenda to see how we're going to move forward with this.
So I would like to make a motion to change the policy. We need to change it such that we add a weighting system such that we can evaluate potential donors that want to have naming rights on these parks. Anybody could submit a name, but if somebody shows up with $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, they're likely to get a little bit more weight and consideration than any of the great 12,000 citizens that we have in the community that come up with a name and submit it through our application, which is our current process. Now, I'm not necessarily saying we should take money every single time we name something, but Belmont's not made of money. We're not rich. We do need some of this money. We do need some, and we need the connections with these groups as well. So I think we need to figure out what the weight's going to be, where money factors in versus, a special citizen that's done something extraordinary, or group. Like I kind of lean towards letting the Belmont Rowing Club come up with a name too in that particular case because of the work they've already done here. But we need to change this policy because it's not going to serve us based on what everybody's saying from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, agree.
Okay, well, I'll work on getting some revisions to the policy then. But all these projects are city projects, so we have to take the lead, especially the Recreation Commission on that. So we can't really put the Rowing Club or anybody else in the lead. You guys have to be the leader on this effort to name these facilities.
Zip, and this may need to change in the policy too, so I'm asking a question. I'm not saying there's anything wrong here, but currently it says that you as the head of the department come up with the initial temporary name. And in a business, a lot of times you'll have your legal name, but you might have 2 or 3 doing business as names as well for marketing reasons or whatever. And the name that goes on a park may not be its official legal name that we submitted an application to the federal government as an example. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But maybe we have a temporary name that lasts 6 months until somebody goes out and builds that relationship where we do get a sponsor, or does the vetting of somebody's name, a special citizen that's done something amazing that might have their name associated with the park too.
Right.
Any of those things could take time, and then also the time for the rest of Belmont to review the options and weigh in too publicly.
Well, that goes into the policy of renaming. It's saying strongly,
well, it's
discouraged.
It allows for a temporary name today, followed by the official name, and then the renaming policy comes in. So the initial part of this does already include a temporary name. It just doesn't say how long between temporary name and official name.
Okay. Let's everybody review the policy, then at our next meeting we'll discuss this further and try to make some revisions to the policies. I think Laura's got the notes down and everything, so we'll look at what you guys said and try to revisit the policy and send those revisions to you guys to review.
Well, do we have to vote on the policy? I mean,
yes, you have to.
I know Brett made a motion. I didn't.
Started to.
What's that, Brett?
Yeah, started to. Didn't quite finish it. I'm not good at that.
Okay.
Still learning. Do we throw it out or just?
Yeah, go ahead, Brett. Go ahead with your motion, and then we'll go from there.
So I would move that we need to change the policy today. We can't use it because it's not going to serve us. What it changes to, let's kick that back to Zip and Laura to determine a change in the process. I feel like we're going to need to see the steps and figure out how we balance this out. I mentioned a weighting system. We've got to have some way where it all comes together and we get a chance to review it as well as taking a public vote. That's a process. That's not something that's a quick bullet item in a policy. So
I really need a motion now.
Yeah, maybe we don't.
We don't need a motion for that.
Okay.
You really don't need a motion.
And to note, this policy was pulled from our files, and I don't know when this policy became inactive or anything. So a lot of our policies need to be updated. So we're going to face this problem with all of our policies as we move forward, and at the growth that we're having, especially with the new rec center or the new facilities we had. I don't know when the last new facility was built in Belmont. Probably been a while. So we do need to update our policies and our procedures for everything that we're doing going forward. And it's going to take some time for us to get to those next steps. I do agree. Yeah, we do need to change this policy.
Can we say that for the next meeting we're going to plan to update the naming policy, and then okay, and then we'll go ahead and move forward then.
Okay.
All right. So our next one is usage of the park property for commercial recreation policy. Are these the items that you guys said that you didn't get, or you do have?
I have them.
The attachments.
We have them.
Okay.
I have it.
Yeah, I have it.
Sure.
Yes, these attachments were just an upgrade from what the city attorney reviewed. I think I gave them to you at some previous recreation commission meetings. But this is just the changes that our city attorney made on these policies, and that's what I submitted to you guys. That Laura submitted to you guys. It's just an update of what the city attorney suggested. Did everybody have a chance to review those?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I do not have this. I did not get anything in attachments for the presentations nor for this.
Okay.
I remember making those requests specifically in a couple of the meetings.
And to update everybody, this is just a policy of that we have vendors for profit using our parks and facilities for their own use, and we do have an uptick in some of these vendors using our facilities now. And we did have somebody that submitted that went through the proper channels of our new contract that you have in place now to rent. I think it was Lofton Park for 4 or 5 days. And as the policy states that we will be doing a background check on these people that have to have insurance to do some of these programmings. And that's what we had discussed, I think, in some of our previous meetings.
All right.
So we're really not going to vote on this tonight, since Brett not have anything. So at our next meeting, this is something else that we need to discuss and break up again, and make a recommendation to City Council on this.
Okay.
Okay.
And I hate everything is coming so close together. I mean, we have met in 2 months, so everything just kind of just snowballing all at once on us. So I apologize for that. But we do have a lot of stuff on the plate. There's a lot of stuff going on. So we got to get. So we may need to have. We will have another meeting to go over some of these items again.
I do have it now. I just got it.
I was gonna say, I just resent it to you, Brett.
Okay. So let's everybody this is something else to review the naming rights and this contractor services policy that we have too. And like I said, we already got one group that's on hold is wanting to use the park now to do Girls on the Run, Laura. They want to do a camp. I think it's 5 days. I think it's on Saturdays.
Yeah, there's some days they want to do it on a Wednesday at Stowe Park, and then Saturdays at Kevin Lofton.
And like I said, we'll be trying to do a background check on those teachers, and also they have to provide insurance, and also they're going to charge, I think in particular, was $170 a person, and in our proposal it was, I think, a 20% a charge per person to do that at our facilities. And again, I said this is covering anybody that's for profit at the recreation facilities. Just take a look at that policy too, and then we'll come back at our next meeting to discuss it further.
Okay. All right. And then dog park.
Okay, and with us we have Miss Angela Street and Emily.
And Emily.
And who else we have?
That's it.
We have Amy Bogard with us as well.
Yeah, and Amy. So we'll turn it over to Angela and her group to discuss the dog park. And this is just an update on the dog park. Angela's group is kind of working with us on this project to help us with this. And they've been a big help, just like some of the other organizations with the different projects that we have going on. We have met with some people trying to get a design for this dog park and get a cost estimate for the dog park also, so that we can be able to let you guys review it and have something to make a recommendation to City Council also. So we'll let Angela go ahead with her presentation. And like I said, this group has been a big help. We did meet with 2 other vendors to kind of give us the idea of how the dog park would look and how to design. We haven't signed any kind of agreement with anybody that did anything yet. We're just out mostly fact-finding information from these different vendors and stuff. And we have come up with some good ideas of how to do this dog park. And it looks pretty good, but I want to steal Angela's thunder and turn it over to her. So go ahead, Angela, and Emily, and Amy.
Thanks for having us, guys. So as Zip said, I'm Angela Street. I chair the Main Street Advisory Board and also the DBDA, both of which have been involved in this project for some time. And Emily Rudisill is with us. She is the chair of the design committee, which is what the project is under, the committee the project is under. And Amy Bogard, who is our newest board member for the Main Street Advisory Board and DBA. She has been the subcommittee lead for this project, so she may be a new face to you. She hasn't been at the presenting to you before, but we wanted to bring her in because she's been integral in especially the fundraising side of it. Amy's all about that, and Emily has obviously been very involved as well, and you've familiar with her. So I will at this point go ahead and turn this. I'll share my screen, and I think you might have a new member. I heard So I'll go ahead and just briefly, there's a screen that you've seen before, which is the location. I'm doing that for the benefit of your new member. And then I'll flip over to the design, which to manage your expectation, as Zip said, we haven't paid for professional design, but through Amy's fundraising, we're able to, if we want to, if this is something we want to, you guys and the council wants to move forward with. And the design Emily will take is a hand-drawn thing that Emily did, and she can explain that in more detail, just to give you guys some thoughts. So let me share my screen here. All right, is everyone seeing our location overview page? Yes.
Yes.
So your new member, this is nothing new. This is what we shared before. The water treatment plant is here. This is, where we're talking about the city work center, the recreation center, and, obviously this part in green is the Kevin Lofton Park, just to kind of give you a reference. And this is Catawba Street going down here. So I wanted to kind of give a reference to your new member. And Emily, if you're available to take it away with the design ideas we wanted to share.
I am here. So guys, I am not an artist. This is something I drew in 5 minutes after we had walked the property, but it was important for us to get our thoughts down on paper and have a visual that we could share with everyone. So just to orient you, the bottom of the screen, you see Catawba Street. The street going up on the left side is 12th Street. That intersection, you have Unity Baptist. So that's the church over to the bottom left. So our dog park, you can see here in this very rough drawing, it is not to scale. The areas, the goal is for the large dogs to have a much larger area than the small dogs because they need it more. You will notice the parking lot. We do recommend having that at the top of the park where the main entrance will be. We don't know how many spaces we can have there yet, but we do know we will need an ADA space and an ADA entrance into the dog parks. So beside the ADA space, you can see we have kind of an entrance area where there would be an ADA porta potty, a water fountain that would be like the one at the tennis courts where you have an adult water fountain, a youth water fountain, and then a doggy bowl down at the bottom. And then you have your double gate into each of the dog park areas. Now, a second entrance was recommended, and you'll see that on the right side of the screen where there's a walkway to the new Parks and Rec and City Public Works buildings. So that would be a natural walkway with its own gate that people could use to come from those parking lots or from the greenway that's going to be in that area. So I think what's new and was recommended to us from, was it Chuck or David? One of the guys, you'll see we have 2 maintenance gates. They highly recommended we add that into the design into each park so that they can easily get in to maintain the grounds and pick up branches and cut grass and whatever maintenance needs they need to do. But this is our rough drawing. You'll see we did document the actual houses that people live in. A few of the properties are church owned and are not residential. But we do have a few homes that are immediate to the dog park that may have concerns. Maybe not, but this is our rough sketch. Our thoughts on this was we do the minimum we need to help with the budget and the cost. And then as the future goes on, we can add additional elements like agility and other fun things within the park. But not on here. We have discussed benches. You're going to need ADA benches outside of the main entrance and within both of the dog parks. But that's, Angela, Amy, did I miss anything on this drawing?
I think we did discuss the possibility of where this fence line would be. As Emily said, this isn't to scale. The fence line here, these are telephone poles. We were thinking to make sure that this fence line accommodated some sort of natural walking path, or just some space that people could use since there's no sidewalk on this street. And assuming that, we have the Aberfoyle apartments and residential units that are, people would probably be accessing to walk with their dog to, and this would be the most likely way they would go up. And then depending on us further conversation, this fence line might come up a little to accommodate whatever might happen in the future, whether if at some point in the future the city decides to do a sidewalk, or if we go with one of the companies, if it's determined we need some sort of I can't use that. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the term. If it's a retention pond of some sort, that's not the right word for it. But we would probably allow a little space here to accommodate whatever might be needed in the future there too.
Thank you,
That was good,
Angela.
that retention pond. That was fine, Angela.
Emily, or Angela and Amy, I'm curious, when you talked about the houses, have you guys had any feedback from any of those property owners at this point? I know you guys have done a lot of fundraising. You got a lot of stuff on social media. I was just curious if any of those have reached out to you at this point.
We're not aware. No one's identified themselves as being property owners.
Okay.
We did do a survey to just sort of, just a general survey to get some, just some sort of assess again, some general support, because we did it originally, but that was back in 2017, I think, when we first started the project. So we did it again this year. We got really great feedback, mostly positive, and I can, be happy to share those results with you guys, at the point that you want to look through that. But they never really identified themselves as homeowners if there was anything negative that came back.
Mm-hmm. Zip, and part of like the preparation for this, I mean, I'm assuming there'll probably be a step at some point where they would be contacted by the city.
Yes, I mean, that's something we certainly can do, but the property that we have there is about 2 acres, and it is city-owned property, but it's just 3 houses that be affected, so we surely could contact them and let them know what we're doing.
And I'm only saying that, with experience with the Belmont Rowing Club and the whole thing we had with Lake Ridge, I think their biggest thing was they felt like they just never really knew. So I thought, as being proactive as possible, notifying them that, hey, this is a new park site. Maybe that's just some community, conversation.
Okay.
I was just curious if there was any feedback at that point.
That's something that we certainly could do. So I'll get with Angela and we can work on that also.
I have a question about the maintenance gates. Will those be locked?
Yes, we could lock those.
Yeah, I was just thinking, especially when you're talking about people coming up from Aberfoyle along that walkway, that would seem like a very convenient way to get in, which I know isn't always safe for dog parks, depending on how that gate is built out.
Yeah, those will have to be locked.
Okay, thanks.
What was the reasoning to move the dog parking to the back and not utilize what's up in front right now? Obviously, there's a lot of gravel. If you're not going to utilize that space, you're obviously going to have to come in, plant the grass and everything, let it take hold. So I didn't understand why you'd want to put the parking to the back when you can utilize the front.
Well, one of the main reasons was that it's going to be a connectivity between that and the pathway to the city works and to the new recreation center.
Where
Was
the
one.
parking is?
So what?
Because it looks like there's a fence between the dog parking and that small dog area. If I see the path, it's over to the right. I'm sorry.
This is
need to cut you off.
Emily. We did have discussions about the entrance being on the side that Catawba Street is, but then we worried about a dog getting loose, and that's a pretty busy street, and it would be more protected and safer entrance at the top. That was just our thinking on why the entrance is at the top.
Anybody got any
Okay.
questions?
No, I mean, I understand what the thinking on it. It just looks like it's an increased cost if you build it this way. Just seems that way to me with what needs to be done.
I'm a little
We did have
confused.
walkthroughs with a couple of the folks on the property. They didn't say, and I think we pointedly asked about the gravel that's down there in the bottom left corner of the large dog area. And they said you can keep that as it is. You don't need to pull it up. You don't need to put grass there at the moment if you don't want to. If that helps.
Yes, and that was going to be alternative parking down there where you're talking about, Dan. But I'm going to be meeting with a couple of engineers either tomorrow or Friday on the parking situation and the availability for ADA parking and things like that. So I should have an answer about the parking here shortly. And we did also meet with, I think Angela met with Gaston County.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of gave them kind of outlook of what they have here. And they didn't have any problems with it. Is that correct, Angela?
Yeah, we didn't have this exact design at that point, but we did meet with the inspector, the Gaston County inspector, and it was around the subject of, just sort of especially parking and how much he felt we would need, what we needed to be prepared for. And he said these kind of parks, there's really very little involved on his end as far as requirements.
I'm trying to think how this lot looks. I go by it so many times, but if the parking is up in that area, would we have to remove any trees to accommodate that parking area?
Very, very limited removal of trees. It was about 3 trees that we identified that were already dead that we had to take out. And that was up at the top. And so we would be going around when we do put the fencing in for the small and the large dog area. We'll try to go around as many trees as possible. So we don't have to do any we want to keep everything as natural as possible.
Lord, I don't want to cut any more trees.
Also,
I've watched the deforestation behind my house, and it's heartbreaking. It's just absolutely heartbreaking to see the number of trees that's being cut down.
Yeah, we had a very healthy we had a healthy discussion with both of the dog park planners that came out about identifying the trees on when they were to do a real design for us, identifying where the trees were so that when we are putting up these fences that things can be accommodated. And we actually had a lot of discussion. It's not to scale, but we did have a lot of discussion even when we were there on site with them about where we would move things to make sure we weren't taking down trees that were healthy. As Zip said, there were a few that will need to come down regardless because they're dangerous.
Yeah, and I would agree with that.
Another benefit of having the entrance at the top and not the bottom is that you get the benefit of those trees that are still living and will remain. Down at the bottom of the property, there really isn't any natural shade at all.
Is there going to be trees added? Because I know the dog parks that I've been to, I really like the ones that have that shade. Because when I'm standing there waiting, it's nice to, as a redhead and a very pale skinned person, it's really nice to have that additional shade. Is there going to be any added to the park?
There's actually significant tree cover there. So I don't really think that's going to be necessary. The only thing we discussed the potential of would be if we feel we want to have some sort of natural barrier outside of the fencing to just for if it came up that someone had some sort of site issues, with the fencing, or even if there were sound issues, that could be something we could consider. But right now the plan doesn't really have anything in it until that comes up.
Do anybody have any other significant other questions? I know we've been discussing this for the last couple of meetings. What is everybody's feelings on the dog park? Yay, nay, like it, don't like it?
I do like it.
I like it too.
I'm
I
excited
don't
that
have
we're
children
doing
and
it.
I love dogs, so
It's nice that we're doing it. Yeah, just like, hopefully we can get it laid out in the most efficient way.
Yep. I'm happy with the progress too.
Yep. A lot of work.
Great addition to the parks for the city.
Does anybody want to make any kind of motion or something stating that they support the dog park or anything like that? Food for thought.
Do we need one?
Yes, at some point we're gonna need one.
I'm not sure exactly. We're supporting just the support of the dog park. Is that what we're?
Well, I mean,
is it going up before council?
Yes, it's got to go up before council at some point. I mean, they're going to be discussing it at the retreat this Saturday. We don't have to give them no word right now, but if you wanted to, you could go ahead and do that process. Well, now we can wait to the next meeting. But at some
Are
point,
they going to be discussing funding at the retreat?
well,
Yeah,
it's
I think
not
the dollars
only
are-
going to be with funding. That's going to be the next step. But all the potential projects that we do have, is the first step has been approved by the Recreation Commission, and that's one of the steps that you guys haven't voted on yet. So either now or at the next meeting or at some time in the future, you guys got to say whether you support the dog park or not. I mean, point blank. I mean, that's just where we're at now.
But Zip, I think though that it really, I think it would be nice to have like a better or the drawing of it. I mean, the pencil thing is great, and I think that we all think that it's really needed right now. So I mean, it's a great idea. They have done a tremendous amount of work over the past couple of years. They have gone to the council. They have raised the money. I think it's wonderful things, but before I would like to actually vote on a motion, I would like to see a plan, and not just a pencil plan, just a real plan. I mean, they have done a tremendous amount of
Can I interrupt you, please?
Of course.
Yeah, sorry. So, hey, everybody, it's Amy Bossard. If you look, Angela just put the slide up saying that to date, we've raised $10,243.39. That money can go to a planner to come up with a design. I mean, it's kind of this. We could go back and forth about seeing a design and and where's the money going to come from. But frankly, we have money that we've raised starting back in 2019 and before that's not going to come out of the city budget. It's already there for a planner to put together a design.
I guess what Claudina, if I can just kind of say a little statement, I think what we're saying is that typically when these parks have come up and our suggestions have been made, there's specific things that follow that, just like what you guys saw with the Splash Park, and being able to kind of put that together with some sort of budget, whether it's the cost of what the park's going to be, along with how the fundraising is a part of that and how that partners together, and then some sort of like a more I bet no, I don't want to say better. Emily, I know Emily. Well, I don't want to say her drawing. I'm just saying a more, a plan kind of very similar to how we would normally present something to the council, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Let me chime in on this. As we move forward on this project, and like I said, me and Angela and the rest of the group, we did meet with 2 designers. That cost to do what you're talking about is going to be anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000. It's what we got the quotes back from. So the money that they raised, that whole $10,000 is going to go to just designing the dog park. And when we do this dog park, I think Angela and them in the group already met with the fencing company. We kind of know where the pad is going to go. We know some of the products that we're going to be putting in there, like the water fountain and some of the other amenities that's going there. So
is this project, Zip, is this project going to be kind of an a la carte thing? Like where you have different, or are you looking at a company to do a turnkey project?
It'll be, to me personally, I think it needs to be a la carte thing, the way we can come in and do the things, because we do have the fence companies that they got proposals from. We kind of know who to do the concrete pad. We know where to get the water fountains, the benches, and all those type things. It surely cut down on costs, but if you guys want to pursue this and get a design for this park, like I said, it's going to cost you anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000. The total amount for this project was going to be, we estimated between $65,000 and $75,000 for the entire project. So we go with this design with at least $10,000 right off the bat.
So, and I understand that. Believe me, I understand the cost of trying to fundraise and things like that. I guess my question or my concern would be is that if you send it in this type of presentation to the council, are they going to accept it in that way that we have a, if they're in fact putting city funds in this park, are they themselves not going to require some sort of plan, maybe a professional plan? Or are they going to be okay with saying, well, we have a fence company and we have a thing? I'm just looking ahead to say, are they going to accept that?
And that'll probably be a question I have to talk to Adrian about, the city manager, on that, and see if we want to go forward with that.
So can I ask a question to Angela and Amy and Emily? What are your goals today? Are you hoping to get us to approve it so then you can send it before council for potential discussion on funding? Or what were you thinking? What were you hoping is the outcome of tonight?
I'll take that. So yeah, our goals, the fundraising that we have right now, like this money, we have been told that we actually can't even spend it on the dog park until city council approves the dog park officially as a project. So literally we can't get a formal plan until city council says, yes, we are behind the dog park and we want to do it. Go ahead and spend your money.
Mm-hmm.
So you need us to go ahead and approve it so you can take it to city council to be approved as a project.
Kind of. Let me qualify it a little bit. One of which is we've also been told very clearly this is a city project. It is a city park. So at this point, we've and as the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, this should be coming. Everything should be coming through this board, and which is fine. It's what we've wanted to do all along. We've obviously been in front of you several times, so you know that. But I think that what needs to happen now is we need to take the step back to be more of the support for your board if this is a project you want to push and move forward. And we are all committed. We all committed. We still have the subcommittee. We're, here and we're going to be here. But we're just not really, we've been told, I don't think they want to see us presenting this to city council is what I'm saying. It's really a question of whether or not your board is behind this project, which it sounds like you are. and how you wish to move forward. We're here to assist you. But I think what I'm being told from the fundraising that we've raised is that we actually are not, we shouldn't be, we can't hire a designer for this project because it is not our project.
So let me ask this, is it possible to get, it's right now it's city property. Is it possible to get a PDF of the plot and then pencil in your design into that and then include that into your presentation? If you've done that, then that could be the design.
Right.
And it would look a lot better. I would be a lot more comfortable with that going up before city council. Is that possible?
Yes, we could check into that.
I have a concern in who is responsible for building this. In this case, it seems like either the Park and Rec Department or the city, blurred line there, is the general contractor to make all of this happen and go out and pick up the other subcontractors to build the fence and parking lot and whatnot. Now, normally we would review multiple quotes, look at proposals from a couple different providers. They take responsibility, and it costs a lot more. So I can understand the potential for us to bootstrap something that looks like something I would expect the city could do itself.
Right.
But I think we need something of a proposal from the person in the city. I don't know if that's UZIP or someone else in the city that's taking on the construction of this and the things that come with it. Doesn't seem to be, as big as many of our other projects, but who is that person and what is their plan to make this happen? I feel like you've said a lot of this and it's in your head. And that I think, but I'm not sure if are you taking responsibility for this, Zip?
It'll be both of the departments working on this. Be the planning department, the engineering department, stormwater department. All the different entities will be helping with this project.
I hear you, and so I guess that's where we need I would be.
So
who's doing what and how's it coming out of their budget and some of this isn't us to decide, but I don't see the plan to make it happen. I could envision, going out and building the fence myself. That doesn't mean it would be done well.
I mean,
or I've got the time to do it. Does this, do the city employees have the time to do this?
You're missing the point. When we do these projects, we'll be contracting out, for instance, for the fence, and they already got 3 quotes for the fence company ready to go. So it'll be a professional person doing it. We'll just be getting the quotes for a particular project, like the concrete pad. We'll know the dimensions for that. We'll know to bring in a concrete guy to do the concrete. We won't actually be doing the work manually ourselves. We will be getting quotes from different companies to come in and do those sub projects.
So are you asking us, the board, to review each one of those?
You won't be reviewing anything like that.
Nah.
Well, that's where somebody's got to come and be responsible, is what I'm saying. If it's not us, and I don't think it should be.
But any project we do in the city, it's the city's responsibility. It's not the recreation board to come out and on these projects. I mean, once you give the approval to move forward with these projects, then and if we go the route that we're talking about, then we'll start going and get quotes for individual things like the fence and the space, all the different amenities that go into that. So it'll be the city's job to do that.
So this is my perspective, is that I feel like y'all have been working on this for years. We've seen the work that you've been doing. You're kind of at a point where it's like, go forward or just spin your wheels even more. And I don't want us to be a hurdle in that process. And I feel like we might be on the cusp of really holding up your work. Yeah, this isn't the most professional drawing. Emily, you did a great job. I couldn't have drawn it that well, so no judgment at all. But it's not like a typical design what we've seen. But if someone is telling you all you can't move forward with hiring a designer until you get buy-in from city council, then I would say we should get out of your way and approve it so you can take it to city council in whatever state it's in, so they can make the decision, yeah, go forward with the planner, or this drawing is good enough for us to move forward with the construction.
Or could we even make a proposal if we have several? Because Brett, I totally understand what you're saying. I feel like, even tonight, I think the question is it's not that we don't support it. We do support it. That's not, but I think when we just got through with 2 presentations of a splash park from companies that we know at the end of the day, if that's not done correct, there is like, boom, they're responsible. They're over it. They're the general contractor. They're over everything. But with this, it sounds like we may have a person here that's going to do stuff, and then we have a person here and a person here. So I think kind of who would be that person to present it to the council, and is it an option for our board so that we can, because I understand what Emily's saying too, is it something that we can just say, you know what, here's the information we've been given, can we just pass it to the council?
Yes, certainly you could do it that way. Again, going back to the fact, we kind of handle projects all the time in the city, and that's what we normally do for small projects like this. I mean, of course, when we're building the rec center, we're not going to be doing it individually, but a small dog park, as mentioned here, it's not that hard of a job to do. I mean, the main thing is going to be the fencing, knowing where the boundaries are, and knowing where the pad is, the concrete pad is. Like I said, I'm meeting with the engineer who does these projects all the time with the city. He works with the city. I work with the projects. Planning and zoning works with the projects. So I don't see a problem in doing that. But if we want to pursue the other way, that's fine also. We got to come up with some additional funding to be able to do that. So we mentioned before, the process that we have in place now is going to be anywhere between $65,000 and $75,000 to do. And we don't have deep pockets. But we got a lot of projects on the table.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to conserve as much money as we can. But if you guys want to go with the whole 9-yard step, hiring a general contractor or somebody to do the whole project, the price is going to rise sharply.
I want to make sure we're not out to raise costs. That's not what we're here to do. My point is that I just want to make sure that we're going through the right checklist of how we get to the end result. That's it. I mean, just like projects we've done before, we've gone through, the checklist of things to make sure. So
yes, and it brings me back to a point, and correct me if I'm wrong. Did we not vote to go ahead and proceed with the skate park without, a formalized plan, right?
I believe the city council trumped us there, didn't they?
Yes.
Yes.
We didn't really get to vote on the skate park at all.
Right.
They went on.
They told us after they did it, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it was really up to us to vote on it, take it to council, and we didn't have a plan. So I think, and maybe in this case, we do the same thing. I think we just come in and say, yes, we support this. Let's move forward with it. Maybe, we've got a rough plan, right? It's a great drawing. Visually, I understand what's going on. So I guess just to move forward with it is, we support it.
The skate park wasn't built by the city itself, though. It's being built by contractors, correct?
Right.
Right, but you're looking at a much higher cost for this skate park.
I'm not suggesting that, Zip. What I'm saying is, if the city engineer or the city employees are going to build this, they need to bring us the plan if we're going to
city is not
give it up or down. This is, if they were just adding a fence to an existing park, I'd say go for it. If they were just repaving a parking lot, I'd say go for it. But this is building a park where one doesn't exist.
The city is
not right next door to our town hall and our new rec center, which is going to be this gateway into our community. And just down the block, we've got a dog park with a back of the napkin drawing. I understand it. I get it. And I'm not even worried about the drawing. But if somebody does the fence wrong, kills a tree, if the drainage doesn't work and it floods like Goat Island's dog park does, and people complain about it and it has to be redone all over again, that's on us for not calling this out. I'm not saying we need a designer, but I personally, I'm not for this if we don't have somebody running the project and they don't tell us how they're going to do it. I'm for everything else about it, the intentions and everything, but as a leader, I don't see it.
let me just state this and then I'll be quiet. We as a city, we're contracted, but we'll be subbing out these projects for them to do it. So we'll be a professional organization doing these projects, not the city out there with a shovel, me picking up a shovel and doing the project ourselves. We will oversee the project, not do the project. So we'll be overseers. So that's where we're kind of missing the boat at. We're not actually out there doing the project ourselves. Now, some of the gravel, some of that things like that, we might do ourselves, but the technical stuff like pouring the concrete or putting up the fence, we would sub that out. And those things would be under warranty from those subcontractors, not the city.
Okay.
And that's how we typically do projects, small projects. I mean, but we want to pursue the avenue of hiring a general contractor to do the whole project. The price is.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying who in the city's got the whole list together. Have them bring the fences. We've reviewed it. We picked from the 3, and this is the cost. Here's the parking lot.
Based on the drawings that we have, we know what items are going to go in this dog park facility. The fencing, the other amenities that go in there, we do know all that. We just got to get a measurement of how big the concrete pad is going to be and where the ADA parking is going to go. And I'm meeting with the city engineers who do streets and all the other kind of work in the city already. So we do have the expertise to do these things.
I'll be happy to support it when I see that in a list.
Zip. We agree the dog park is a wonderful idea. Brett is making some excellent points.
Okay.
He is really making good points. We want to see this ahead, but he is making some excellent points. I don't always agree with him, but Brett is making some excellent points. Thank you, Brett.
Okay, well, what's the board's recommendation and how y'all will move forward?
Zip, let me give you let me just kind of get an example because I want to make sure that maybe we kind of understand the same page. When we and I use the tennis courts. I know you get tired of hearing about tennis courts, but even though we had a company, you had to go out and get the quotes, but when we sent out for the quotes, there was a specific comp list. There was a comp list of everything that needed to be done to the courts, and then that was sent out to the companies to do the turnkey job. I think what maybe Brett's looking at, which I get it, I understand, is that do we have a list of everything that it's going to take to get this dog park done? We know that, okay, you said fencing, you said parking, you said a concrete slab, you said water fountains. Are there going to be little, things that the dogs jump on and stuff like that?
We do have a line item list, and we did not bring that tonight, but Angela, I think we do have a list of all those items that we're going to be trying to provide, and that was included in the cost of the $65,000 to $75,000 range. We narrowed it down to that cost, so we do know the items that's going in the park. Mm-hmm. And studying other dog parks in the community, the Gaston County facilities, and looking at some of them all over the state, we kind of got a good idea of what's going to be in a dog park, and that's why we came up with the figure between $65,000 and $75,000. And it's not too much that you can add to a dog park.
And I understand that. I mean, I see what you're saying. The simplicity of this is so different from some of the other projects that we've done. When it is in fact presented to the council, who and as Angela was saying, she and her committee feel that this council doesn't necessarily want them to present it; they want it to come to the city. Who is going to be in charge of presenting that project to the city? Will it be you?
It'd be myself or the assistant city manager. I don't know. It'd be some of us.
Okay, I'm just was just curious how that will go.
But you guys, if you want to go for the full design or have you guys go, just let me know.
My only concern is if this is already on the agenda for their retreat, they're already going to be discussing it with or without a full plan and I would assume making a decision or somewhere around funding.
Right.
So it may be that, we could say, you need to come back with a plan, and we end up with another skate park situation where they have a conversation and decide, let's move this forward or not. But that's kind of my question is, what are they going to be discussing there around it? And are we just the red tape in front of it?
Can we make a decision to let the council know that we support the dog park? We're just unsure of the concrete plan.
Yes.
How do you guys feel about that?
I like that.
I do too.
You gonna
Yeah,
turn that into a
maybe-
form of a motion?
Yeah, because couldn't we make a motion to support the plan pending or with some sort of
As
more
is.
formalized plan?
I would feel more comfortable saying that we support the dog park, but we would prefer to see a more structured plan of action. Maybe.
I can second that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Everybody say that agrees. Say aye.
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 Anybody would like to disagree? Say no. Okay. All right. Well, let's move forward with that, Zip. So we'll put the note on there that we support the park. We're just not certain of the plan of action.
All right. Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Good work, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other business, Zip, that we need to discuss?
No, I don't have anything else. I don't have a further update on the recreation center yet. But all these projects are going to be discussed at the retreat this coming weekend.
Okay.
I mean, while everything is going on, it sounds like we got to really get on this naming policy so we can at least have something, We're moving in hyperdrive.
Yeah.
Are they still looking at groundbreaking May, June timeframe, Zip, on the rec center?
We're looking at July 1 on the breaking ground for the rec center.
July 1.
Yes, and they're going to be discussing it this week at the retreat. We're still moving forward with the project, as far as I know.
Okay. Good.
Any other business?
And also Rocket Branch update. They're working on Rocket Branch right now, and that's going to probably take about 6 to 7 weeks. The park is right now currently closed, so they're working on Rocket Branch at I think the green section, which is about 300 linear square feet of it, making improvements to that trail system.
Nice.
All right. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, one thing, I'll be contacting you. We do need to have another scheduled meeting sometime pretty soon, so I'll send out some dates. Me and Leanna get together and send out some dates to have our next meeting, which should be pretty soon, and so we're playing catch up right now.
Will that next meeting be really centered around the water parks?
Around the water park and the naming rights. We could talk about those 2 items we probably need to meet on. Don't you guys think so?
Do we need a working session for the naming rights? I don't see how we get from policy that doesn't work to something that works without hashing it out.
Yeah, we definitely got to do something like that. We're going to meet on that. Like I say, this going to be a long process, and I want to get this initiated right now, because it's going to take us a while to get all these things hashed out for naming rights. And like I said, something temporarily we might be able to do, but at some point we got to put a name on some of these parks. So we need to come up with especially a marketing plan to get out to some of these businesses and to communities. Like I said, somebody might want to give us a large donation. So we need to come up with all those steps in place as far as marketing and getting the word out to everybody of what our naming policy is and how we continue with this policy.
Right, but
Yes, it's going to be a little long process also.
You're right, but then we got to put a time frame around that as well.
Yes. And unfortunately, I mean, I know that this is going to be a lot of work, but we're in a unique situation of having projects. A lot of cities don't have projects, and we got 4 or 5 projects that's going on for recreation that's going to really enhance the city. So we're in a good situation. You know, we got to do a lot of work and really update our policies on a lot of different items.
I'm looking forward to it.
So
Fine. It's exciting. It's exciting.
It's a good challenge to have.
And I did talk. One thing I did do is, and I'm gonna let you go. I did talk to Fred Gray, who was the recreation director here in He came in 1975. I was trying to find when the recreation department was first formed. We think it was in 1972, 73. So the recreation was built then. That was the anniversary. I don't know what that is.
I don't either.
Yeah. So if that is true, if it was enacted in 1972, that would be our 50-year anniversary when we open up the new recreation center in 2022. So I wanted to start working on that early so we could probably get some marketing stuff out there for our 50-year anniversary coming up. So I'm still trying to get confirmation on that date of when it actually was. And Fred lives in Phoenix, Arizona. He said that we do open up the rec center, he will be back for that occasion. But he first started trying to build that gym in 1975. I think the first recreation director was Ron Alexander. I think that was his name. He was the first recreation director here. So we're trying to get pin down that date and start doing some marketing. And maybe Bree or Emily or somebody, we can get some early marketing out for that 50-year anniversary for the rec center and for the recreation department. So we are working on that also. And it's all over pages.
All in fun. A little piece of information. I think I did a part of my thesis on the startup of Belmont Parks and Recreation when I was in school. So I'm going to look up that paper. I may have a lot of history. You don't even need to look.
Good. That'd be good. Real good. And I appreciate y'all, you guys, and putting up with me, and we're working out our stuff. So everything is working good, and we do have a really unique situation. And we got a lot of good things going here in the city. So I really appreciate you guys helping us out and giving us your input. It's valuable. So I really appreciate that. So I guess I'll see you guys next time, and we'll be getting with you and see when the next meeting will be.
Did we have a second on Emily's motion?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, let's say aye, and thank you guys.
Aye. My stomach says aye.
Good
night. Happy New Year.
Bye.
Thanks. We'll see y'all.
Happy New Year.
All right. Bye.